So I created this solenoid system for my son who just loves water and would flood our house. It was so bad that we actually had to renovate our entire kitchen. The good news is the valves, they cost somewhere around $25 a piece, so $50 per sink or per fixture, plus whatever plumbing fixtures you need. The good news though is that if you have basic electrical and plumbing skills, this really isn't that hard to do. It's just tedious to do. But doing this has been a dramatic improvement for us, as well as waterproofing his bathroom. If I had to do it again though, I would put floor drains in all of our bathrooms, just as an insurance policy. We didn't do it in this new built house. We have had one flooding incident in the guest bathroom, and so that would have been really handy.
All right, this is called a solenoid valve. The way a solenoid valve works is that there's a magnet in here, and when there's electrical current that passes through this system, it pulls the magnet this way back, which then pulls a tiny piece of metal that's on a rubber gasket in this section. When it's pulled back, then the water is able to flow through the line and up. There's two different types. You can get 110 volt and you can get a 12 volt. The advantage of the 110 is that you simply wire it right into your electrical circuit. The 12 volt uses an adapter. The advantage of that is you can just plug it in and unplug it. Disadvantage is one more thing that can potentially break down. These are pretty robust, and if I've only had one go down over 3 years, and they're easy to clean. I'll send the link for this valve. You need to get one that has a 3/8 inch fitting on both sides. And then you can see what it comes with the wires, and you simply connect the wire in over here. This is in conduit because this is in a wet area under a sink. All right, and then the conduit simply goes into a junction box where there's power. So wherever you have these solenoid valves, you do have to have power available at the location. So you connect the electrical, and the plumbing is really pretty simple. You just, this is PEX, so you just plug it in here with a male connector into the female connector on the solenoid valve, and then go female to male. And then the rest of the connection is standard plumbing.
So this is a very basic system for under one sink. You'll see you'll need two valves, one for the cold and one for the hot water. And then it just sits underneath your sink, like so, all right? To turn on and off, there are several different ways, and I'm gonna show you in different videos. This is a guest bathroom, and so I didn't want the guest to have to worry about turning things on and off, so I put a motion detector switch here. So when someone walks in, the water turns on. When they walk out, it turns off. Now when my son walks in, yes, the water turns on, but when he walks out, at least the water will automatically turn off. I also adjusted the valves so that the inflow of the water is always slower than how fast it can drain. Even if this is plugged, the overflow valve is sufficient to drain the sink, so we don't get overflow water. This is another type of setup. The other setup was just for under one sink. This setup controls an entire bathroom. So again, you have a cold water and a hot water solenoid valve. Here, because it's not under a wet area, you can actually see how the wires are wired into current. And this is a simple network box that you get for internet and other cable connections in your home. So the nice thing is it fits between studs, easy to put in. All right. This is a second type of switch that I use. It's a smart switch by Leviton. And so you can turn on and off the water manually, but you also program it to the Leviton app. So you can control it from your phone, and it's Alexa friendly. So I can simply say, Alexa, turn master water on, and it turns on. And you can do the same to turn it off. All right, so this is one more step. This is under the main kitchen sink, and I go as far as putting the disposal onto a smart switch because my son tends to turn on and off disposals if the switch is somewhere above.
This is also a little bit complex, but something that I did, this is a bypass system, because if this goes down, because you don't have electricity, you won't be able to get water to your sink. So what this allows me to do is it allows me to bypass this valve going this way, all right? So right now it's off, but if we lost power, I would simply shut the power off to this valve, and then I would just turn this so that the water would then be able to freely flow up into the sink. If you have power outages often that last a long time, I would recommend a bypass valve, at least on one shower and one sink. This is the third kind of switch I use. It's a simple dimmer switch. This one's made by Lutron. And so here what you can do is you set it for a specific time. So you can see here, right now it's set for 15 minutes. And so whenever someone turns on the switch, you can hear the water turning on. It will run for 15 minutes. We use this for my son's bath, and then you can just turn it off. So that no matter what happens, we know that the bath will not overflow in 15 minutes. The only issue comes down to whether or not your child is able to make the connection between a switch and the water. If they can, then you have to put some kind of switch guard on. Okay, this is the floor drain. It's just one way that you can ensure that your bathrooms don't get totally flooded. So I'm going to talk about this in the next video. This is a switch guard. So my son eventually made the connection between turning on and off a switch and turning on the water. So you can get different kinds of switch guards. This one you can't manipulate. So you can see you can't turn on and off the switch unless you come around here, and then you can press and turn on there, and then you turn off here. And there are various switches which make it more and more difficult to be able to do this. So this is a way you can do a switch guard. The other thing about these smart switches is that you can also program to go auto off after a period of time. So just like the regular timer switch that I showed you, where you could manually say how much time you wanted the switch to be on, these you can say I want it to be on for a certain period of time via the app. There are different kinds of floor drains you can get. For new build, obviously it's easier, but for renovations, you will have to take up enough of the floor to be able to plumb this into the rest of the plumbing upstairs. You also have to take a look at code to find out whether or not you need traps. If you don't like this look, there are actually some really nice linear drains that you can put right this way next to the tub. They just happen to be a lot more expensive than others. This bathroom, you can see, we made totally waterproof. It's tiled all the way around, tiled on the floor, caulked around the toilet. There's this little threshold so that water can't go out into the rest of the bathroom. So essentially, this whole bathroom is waterproof and essentially is a big wet room. One more thought I had. It is difficult to find plumbers and electricians who understand what one is talking about in regard to the application of solenoid valves to residential water. Most of the folks I talked to had no idea. Electricians would say this is a plumbing problem, and plumbers would say it's an electrician's problem. And so generally I had to do most of the work myself. In this new build, I did find a plumber who was willing to work with me, and so I actually taught him how to get the system installed. He then just looked at code and then figured out the rest. The only downside is he didn't realize that you have to put the manual shutoff valve in front of the solenoid valve, so that if you do lose power, you're still able to control water flow and install a bypass valve. I will send the link to the valves, which I purchased off of eBay. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me, and I can help you through the process of either figuring out how you need to design your system or how to actually connect it up. But as I said, it's not particularly difficult, and it really will help. Have a good one.